Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for carving out our time today. Today we are going to talk about something just as important, protecting your company's data. Because here's the thing, when company data gets exposed, it's not just an IT headache, it affects your customers, your employees, your reputation, and sometimes your entire business. I am Manasvi, and this is the Microsoft Data Security Immersion briefing, built specifically for small and medium businesses like yours. We are going to keep this real, practical, and jargon free. Let's ground this conversation in some real numbers because I think they'll surprise you. 83% of organizations experience more than one data breach in their lifetime. Not might, do. This isn't rare. It's basically inevitable if you are not prepared. $15.4 million is the average total cost of resolving insider threats over a 12-month period. And get this, insiders, meaning people who already work for you, account for 20% of all data breaches. 80% plus of business leaders say leakage of sensitive data is their first concern when it comes to adopting generative AI tools like Copilot or ChatGPT. So here's the honest picture. Breaches are common, insiders are bigger risk than most people assume, and the rise of AI tools is adding a whole new layer of worry. That's exactly what we are going to unpack today, and more importantly, what you can do about it. Here's something important to understand. If your organization doesn't have visibility into where your sensitive data lives, that data is at risk. No matter how it gets exposed, let's look at four real ways this happens. Two come from outside your walls, and two come from inside. External risk, that is, data compromised by an outside threat. A user falls for a phishing email. The credentials get compromised. Now, an outsider has a foot in the door using a legitimate login to poke around where they shouldn't be. Internal risk, data theft by a malicious insider. Someone copies a sensitive file to a USB drive, then uploads it to their personal Dropbox, intending to hand it to a competitor. This is deliberate, calculated, and surprisingly common. Internal risk, data leak by a negligent insider. This one isn't malicious at all. It's just careless. Someone shares sensitive data in a generative AI app without thinking twice about where the information might enter. Internal risk, data sabotage by a disgruntled insider. Someone who's upset, maybe they know they are being let go, deletes sensitive information before they leave the organization. Spiteful and often very damaging. Four different scenarios, one common denominator. Without visibility into your data, you can't stop any of them. Let's hear directly from the people whose job it is to worry about this stuff. Security and risk leaders. Three big themes keep coming up. 80% plus of leaders say leakage of sensitive data is the top concern, and 48% of them are planning to keep banning generative AI in the workplace altogether because of it. 84% plus of leaders agree they need to do more to protect against risky employee use of AI apps and tools. In other words, most companies know they have a gap but haven't closed it yet. By 2027, at least one global company is expected to have its AI deployment banned by a regulator for failing to comply with data protection or AI governance laws. So think about that for a second. Leaders are so worried about data leaking through AI tools that nearly half are choosing to just ban AI entirely. That's like refusing to use email because someone might send a typo. The real answer isn't to avoid the technology, it's to use it safely. And that's exactly where we are headed. Generative AI tools like Copilot and ChatGPT are genuinely amazing. They save time, spark ideas, and make people more productive. But they also open up some specific data risks that are worth knowing about. Data oversharing by a negligent insider. Someone creates a document without setting proper access control. That makes it way too easy for other people. Or AI tools like Copilot to stumble across it and reference it. Data leak by a disgruntled insider. Someone asks generative AI to dig up the information on a secret project, then leaks what it finds to the press for personal gain or out of spite. Data leak by a negligent insider. Someone pastes sensitive information into a consumer grade generative AI app, like the free public version of ChatGPT, without realizing that data might now be used to train the model. None of these require a hacker in a hoodie. They just require a normal employee, a powerful AI tool, and a lack of guardrails. Let's look at two real stories that shows exactly how this plays out. I want to tell you a true story. The details are sanitized by this, but this is a real incident which happens, and it one of the best examples I know of my visibility into your data matters so much. Meet Jane Doe. Jane was a trusted employee, smart, capable, well regarded. So well regarded, in fact, that she held a principal or manager level title at not one but two companies at the same time. For over 5 years, nobody at either company knew about the other. Jane used her privileged position at both companies to quietly collect proprietary information, the kind of trade secrets companies spent years and millions of dollars at developing. Her goal? Use it all to start her own company. At Company A, she tried to copy sensitive information onto an external hard drive, but Company A had a data loss prevention or DLP policy in place. It caught her and blocked the transfer. So what did Jane do? She found a loophole. Instead of an external drive, she uploaded the sensitive content to her own personal cloud storage at both companies. Then at Company B, she copied those same files from her personal cloud down onto an external hard drive. The DLP policy that caught her once never caught the second method. As the walls started closing in, Jane had inappropriate conversations with her peers and even threatened some of them, trying to keep people quiet. When she suspected a colleague might report her, she tried to delete the sensitive information she would taken, hoping to erase the evidence. The outcome? It didn't work. Jane was terminated from both companies, and her hard drive was seized as a part of an official investigation. In the end, she was convicted and charged with wire fraud, economic espionage, and trade secret theft, all for collecting information to apply for foreign government funding and launch her own company. 100 million plus dollar is what it cost the original companies to develop the intellectual property. Jane stole. That's the real price tag of this story. So let's just discuss what actually went wrong. It is the part that should make every one of us pause. This wasn't a sophisticated cyber attack, it was a series of small preventable gaps. The companies didn't have visibility into where the sensitive data actually was. The DLP system didn't flag Jane as a repeat offender after the first block attempt. The collaboration access she had been granted got abused. Her inappropriate threatening behavior toward peers was never flagged, and the sensitive data she tried to delete wasn't preserved anywhere safe. Jane almost got away with it twice. And the only reason the story has an ending at all is that someone somewhere finally connected the dots. Most organizations aren't that lucky. A single blocked attempt isn't the end of the threat. It's a warning sign that needs follow up. Visibility. Before monitoring and data preservation, all have to work together. Any one gap is enough. Now let's look at completely different kind of story. No villain here, just two well-meaning employees, John and Alice, and a project called Obsidian. John is a manager working on a confidential initiative called Project Obsidian. It's secret. Only a handful of people are supposed to know it even exists. Alice is a project manager elsewhere in the company. Alice overhears a passing mention of Project Obsidian. Curious, she asks Microsoft 365 Copilot to find information about it, and Copilot does exactly what it's designed to do it. It finds a summary along with the link to the actual document. Why could Copilot find it? Because the file behind Project Obsidian had open permissions. Nobody had locked it down. And now, here's where it gets worse. Out of pure curiosity, Alice decides to see what ChatGPT would say about the same content. So she copies the file content and pastes them into the ChatGPT. Two things went wrong simultaneously. First, the company had no policy in place to automatically detect and label Project Obsidian documents as sensitive. Second, they had no data loss prevention policy to stop that information from leaving the building. So once Alice pasted it into the ChatGPT, that content potentially became part of the AI model training data. The result? News about Project Obsidian leaked publicly. It generated bad press for the company and had a real measurable impact on their share price. Notice something important. Neither John nor Alice did anything malicious. John didn't think he needed to lock down the file. Alice was just curious. That's it. That's all it took. This is exactly why trust but don't verify doesn't work for sensitive data anymore. Good intentions aren't a security policy. So, how do we stop the next Jane Doe? How do we protect the next Project Obsidian before curiosity turns into a headline? The answer is Microsoft Purview, a unified approach to securing and governing your data. Let's break down what actually means. Here's the big idea behind Purview. It connects to everything: your Microsoft 365 apps, Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, your broader data estates, things like Microsoft Fabric, Azure Database, Azure AI, your AI apps and agents, Copilot Studio, Azure OpenAI, even ChatGPT Enterprise. All of that connects into one shared foundation built on a data map, smart connectors, and automatic classification labels, full audit trails, and complete visibility. On top of that, foundation sit three pillars. Those are data governance, data compliance, and data security. Think of it as one system that understands your entire data landscape instead of a dozen disconnected tools seeing a tiny slice. Let's simplify this even further. Purview exists to do three things for you: responsibly unlock value creation from your data so you can actually use your data, including with AI, without fear. Dynamically secure your data throughout its entire life cycle from the moment it's created to the moment it's related. Manage critical risk and regulatory requirements so compliance isn't a constant fire drill. It's one unified solution for data security, governance, and compliance, built specifically for the era of AI we are all living in now. Let's get into the details, starting with data security. First up, information protection. This is about knowing what your sensitive data is and automatically protecting it wherever it lives. It discovers and classifies data at scale using automation and machine learning. No more manually tagging thousands of files by hand. It comes with built in labeling and protection right inside Microsoft 365, and extend that protection beyond 365 too, across on premises systems and the cloud. And encryption is built right in, protecting your data at rest, in transit, and even while it's actively being used. Remember Project Obsidian? If information protection had been classifying and labeling that document automatically, this entire story might have ended differently. Now, this one is the piece that could have caught Jane Doe much earlier: insider risk. management. It takes an integrated end to end approach to identify and acting on insider risk. It identifies risky activity and hidden risk using customizable templates and contextual insight built specifically to spot patterns like Jane's. It maintains user privacy with built in controls that keep user data anonymous and until there's a real reason to investigate further. It enables collaboration across security, HR, and legal teams through integrated investigation workflows. So the right people see the right information at the right time. This is the difference between catching one blocked file transfer and catching a pattern. Someone who got blocked once found a workaround and is now behaving suspiciously toward colleagues. That's exactly the kind of pattern insider risk management is built to surface. Data lifecycle management. This helps you to manage your information entirely. It intelligently powered by one connected platform across both Microsoft 365 and non-Microsoft data. It lets you retain or delete data and manage records collaboratively, reducing risk while preventing productivity loss. It helps you demonstrate compliance with label analytics, defensible, disposable processes, and detailed audit trails. It manages non Microsoft data imports using pre built data connectors from Microsoft and trusted partners. Basically, know what data you have, know how long to keep it, and be able to prove your handled it correctly every step of the way. E-discovery. If you have ever been part of a legal case, a regulatory inquiry, or an internal investigation, you know how painful gathering evidence can be. E-discovery makes that dramatically easier, letting you discover, preserve, collect, process, filter, and analyze your data right where it lives. It preserves content by custodian, sends whole notification, and tracks acknowledgement automatically. It lets you review and manage static sets of document within a case, searchable, shareable, and actionable independently. It uses near duplicate detection, email threading, theme analysis, and machine learning models to flag high value content, making the whole review process faster. Think about Jane Doe case again. An investigation like that requires exactly this kind of capability, preserving evidence properly and reviewing it if efficiently. At this point, you might be thinking this sounds powerful but also complicated. So let's talk about why Purview is actually simple to live with day to day. Three words sum it up: simple, integrated, intelligent. It is easy to get started with built in protection. No extra agents to install, no clunky add ons, just a clean, optimal user experience from day one. One single portal for management and secure collaboration, built directly into the productivity tools your team already uses every day, like Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint. Purview automates data security using machine learning driven classification and dynamic risk detection, so it gets smarter and more accurate over time without you lifting a finger. So, what does all of this actually translate to for your business? Three real outcomes. You safeguard your data for AI innovation. So you can actually use Copilot and other AI tools with confidence. You protect and govern your entire data estate, not just pockets of it. You support your compliance regulatory requirements and without the constant scramble. So let's talk about numbers because I know that's on your mind. The Microsoft Purview suite is priced at $12 per user per month. Now, here's why that matters. If you bought the individual standalone bundle separately, information protection plus governance, insider risk management, and e discovery plus audit, that would add up to $19 per user per month in value. 36% savings per license when you choose the bundled purview suite. Instead of buying each piece separately, let's break down what's actually included. Information protection plus governance price individually at $7. E-discovery premium and audit premium bundled together. Compliance manager is available as an add-on at $8,500 per template. The bottom line, bundling gives you end-to-end data security and compliance, prepares you for Gen AI and regulatory requirements, and remove the silos that come from buying point solution one at a time. Let's close out the numbers conversation with some serious proof points based on independent Forrester research. Up to 60% in cost savings when comparing Purview Suite to equivalent third party point solutions, 46% of ROI over 3 years, a real measurable return on investment, not a vague promise. 85% less time spent identifying, classifying, and labeling sensitive data thanks to automation and AI doing the heavy lifting. 96% less time spent detecting potentially suspicious activity. That's the difference between catching a Jane Doe in days versus catching her in months or never. 30 to 40% reduced risk of a breach happening in the first place and 40 to 50% reduced cost when a breach does occur. These aren't marketing fluff numbers. They come from real independent research and they tell a clear story, better protection and lower cost. That's a rare combination in security and it is exactly what Purview delivers. Let's bring this all together. We started with some uncomfortable truths. 83% of organizations fail, multiple breaches and cyber cost millions to deal with. And most leaders are genuinely worried about AI and data leakage. When we met Jane Doe, prove that even one blocked attempt isn't the end of a threat if you don't have full visibility. And we met John and Alice. Prove that you don't need a villain for a sensitive data to lay. Curiosity is enough. And finally, we walked through Microsoft Purview, a single unified platform that brings together data security, compliance, and governance. It is simple to use, deeply integrated, and genuinely intelligent. Your data is one of the most valuable things your business owns. Protecting it well isn't about fear, it's a smart modern business. Thank you so much for your time today. Now I would love to open things up. And what questions do you all have?
Okay, I guess there's no more questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the webinar. Have a nice day.